In this video, we're going to show you how to install brakes on your Ford Taurus located behind your rear wheels. Using our 19mm socket, we're going to get loosened and remove our lug nuts. With the lug nuts removed, you can go ahead and grab that wheel, remove it, and set it aside. Now with the wheel removed, we now want to go ahead and remove our brake caliper. On the back side here, you're going to find 2 bolts. We use our 13mm socket and ratchet to go ahead and loosen and remove these. Now I'm going to go ahead and use a small pry bar, go between the caliper and the bracket, and just kind of work that out. You can also go down below and work that out from below as well. Now I'm going to go ahead and tuck this in the back here. I'm going to go ahead and use a securing strap. I just want to kind of hold that in place. I'm just going to hold it in place. I don't want this to fall and pull on any of the hoses or anything like that. Now over here, we want to go ahead and remove what's left of our brake pads. Do the same for the inboard. That one just fell out. Next, we want to go ahead and loosen and remove the 2 bolts on the back side holding our caliper bracket in place. Now we're going to use our 15mm socket to go ahead and loosen these bolts. Now I'm not going to remove this bolt completely. That's going to hold the bracket in place while I loosen and remove this upper bolt. Otherwise, if you remove that and then you do this here, the whole caliper bracket's going to be flipping up on you. Remove that. Next thing you want to do is remove your brake rotor. Now right here on our particular vehicle, it has a set screw that holds the rotor to the wheel hub. If your vehicle doesn't have this, then the rotor should come right off. If it has this, you need to remove it using a T40 Torx bit. Now our rotor is stuck to the hub, So what we're going to do is we're going to install a lug nut, just a few threads, and then give this a few whacks with the hammer. This on here, just a few threads. Make sure you're wearing safety glasses when you perform this task right here. And we're going to go ahead and whack this with the hammer a few times, hopefully loosening this. The reason why I put this here is that we don't want this rotor to come flying off and hit us. Go ahead and remove that lug nut. And remove that rotor. Now at this point here, we want to go ahead and clean down the hub face itself. And the reason is that if you put on the new rotor on top of rusty pieces here, that rotor may not fit flush, and it's going to cause a brake pedal pulsation while you're applying the brake. So I'm going to go ahead and spray some solvent on this to start, and then use our bristle brush to go ahead and scrub off any of that rusty stuff on there. And then periodically go ahead and spray this down. Make sure you get right inside this groove here. And we knocked off our old rusty rotor. It left some remnants in there, so you want to make sure you clean all that stuff off. Spray that down. Wipe it down. And the next thing we want to do is go ahead and use some anti-seize compound on the hub here. Now I happen to have just a piece of cardboard here cut out, and this helps keep it nice and clean on the back. Nice and simple. Now at this point, we can go ahead and install our brake rotor. Now remember, we had removed the set screw here to hold our brake rotor. That's only used from the manufacturer to hold the rotor on while it's assembled at the manufacturer. If you don't have that, it does not affect the braking of the vehicle, but we're going to use ours. So we're going to line this up, push that on. And we want to go ahead and install that screw. Now we have a brake caliper bracket here on our bench ready to get repaired or serviced. Now we have our slider pins here. Now the key thing here is you want to make sure that these move in and out as well as twist. This one moves in, but then it sticks, it binds, and then twisting it back and forth, it only moves a fraction of an inch here. So we need to go ahead and service this before we reassemble everything, and you got to do the job right. So we're going to start by peeling back this rubber boot off of our slider pin. Normally, you can grab that boot and just kind of pinch it and peel it back. Worst case, you can use a pocket screwdriver. Be careful not to tear the boot. You want to get between the slider pin and the rubber boot and gently work that off. Then you can grab that pin, hopefully rotate it and pull it out. I want to do the same for the other side. And work that pin out. Next thing is, you want to go ahead and remove the rubber boots. So you should be able to slide these off. There's a little flange here on the bracket, and peel off the other one. Next step, set that aside. You want to go ahead and inspect the rubber boots here. You want to pinch these and roll them out. You're looking for splits, tears, anything like that that's going to allow dirt, water, anything like that to get into where the slide pins go. If they're torn or worn, you need to replace these now. Ours both look good. Let's continue with the disassembly of our bracket here. Now you're supposed to have sliders on both sides. Ours was missing one completely. But if you pry up on this here with a pocket screwdriver, make sure you're wearing safety glasses because these can sometimes shoot out. And flip it over. And the same thing here, we're missing one here. And this one here is frozen in there. So pry that out. Now comes the cleaning of this component. I'm going to use a bristle brush, and where you just remove those sliders, you want to go ahead and clean. You got to get rid of any of that rust that's sitting on there. Now this is imperative. If you put the new sliders on the bracket and there is rust here, it's not going to allow the brake pads to fit in nice and easy. You're going to have to force them in, they're going to bind, and they're going to wear your brake pads prematurely. So go ahead and start cleaning with the wire brush. If your rust is excessive, you can use a flat file to go ahead and clean that rust out. Spray it in between. Then when you're satisfied with how that is looking, go ahead and flip it over and repeat for the other side. Now something simple here is I'm using the cardboard box that my brake rotors came in because they work great as far as, you know, when I'm using my spray chemicals and stuff, it absorbs the fluids here so I don't have to get chemicals all over my bench. All right, we're good there. Next thing we need to focus on is where these slide pins go. Using safety glasses, you want to go ahead and spray some solvent into these ports. If you spray too much, it's going to come shooting out and going to go all over the place. Next, we're going to use a bore brush to go in and out. You can see that just garbage coming out of there. It's old rusty grease and that solvent we just sprayed in there. And you want to flush it out. Do this a couple times. The other thing you want to pay attention to is where your rubber boots go onto the flange itself. Go ahead and use your wire brush and clean up around there too. This is going to help that boot seat properly. And the purpose is to help keep that water out of there. And do that on both sides. Okay, and repeat for this side here. Okay, we're going to set that off to the side. Next thing we're going to focus on are the slide pins. You can see that these are all nasty. These should be nice and shiny metal. So you can start, spray some solvent on there, and then grab a rag and just start with a basic hand cleaning. See, a lot of that garbage came off. Now you're going to be looking for raised, rusty stuff on here. We have a little bit on here that we need to clean off, as well as where the boot attaches to underneath the hat of the bolt side here. Now, of course, you can go ahead and use your bristle brush. If you have a wire wheel, you want to go ahead and run it through there. It's going to be a lot faster to go ahead and clean that. Do the same thing for this here. We're just going to run those over to the wire wheel machine now and clean both of these up. Now that we have our slide pins back, everything is really, really clean, which is perfect for us. So what I'm going to do is take a little bit, some silicone paste here, and I'm going to put just a little bit inside each of these ports. More is not better when it comes to this. And I'm going to explain to you why in just a moment. I'm going to pop our boot on. Can do this on both sides. You're going to take your slide pins and a thin coat on here. Usually I just kind of run my finger off of this here. You don't want globs of it. Now when installing this here, you want to be careful. If you use too much of that grease, what's going to happen is, I'm going to call it a hydrolock, where that grease is going to seal and it's not going to let the air extract from the chamber inside here. So you're going to push this in and it's going to want to push right back out. So if you use just a minimal amount, which is enough, pull back on that boot, work that pin in and rotate it. See how nice and perfect that is spinning and it goes in and out? That's exactly how it's supposed to be. Just going to do the same for the other side. So if that pin is pushing itself out, just pull out the pin, clean off a little bit of grease, peel back on that boot, and work this in. There it is there. Perfect. Now we're not done there. We need to go ahead and come on over to these points here where we have to slide our sliders into place. I'm going to use our silicone paste here. I'm going to apply a thin coat. You see a pattern here of using a thin coat. Use your glove, smear it around there. Wipe off the glove. You want to go ahead and take your sliders here. I'm going to go ahead and press these down in a position. And then push these into place. Now when installing these here, there's going to be a larger piece of the slider facing the inboard portion of the bracket, and then there's a tab on the side that is on the outside here. So when installing this, you're going to get the tiny little tab on the inside and then press that down and in. There you have it. You want to make sure that they're flush on both sides. Flip this over, we're going to do the same over here. Make sure when you install your sliders, you follow up with your rag and clean the inside of the sliders. You do not want grease inside the sliders. Reason for that is that grease will hold sand and debris, and it's going to cause your brake pads to bind up and not let them move freely inside here. So now we have our slide pins done and we have our brake pad sliders installed. It's ready to install. Let's go ahead and install our bracket. Now you want to take that bolt and you want to put some blue Loctite on this here. Now go ahead and get that upper bolt started. And we'll go ahead and get that lower bolt started. Let's go ahead and pop our ratchet on there and we'll snug that down. Go ahead and snug those down. Now we will have to come back and torque these down later. Now we're going to go ahead and use our pliers to go ahead and spin our piston in here. And you can see it rotating. So we basically need to screw this all the way in. Now the other option you have is you can use a large pair of pliers and you can grab around the piston itself, but you want to be careful not to grab the rubber boot. So you're just grabbing the outer edge of this. By using some spray solvent, it does help that rubber slide better on that piston. And you can see we're so much further in already. Now, for any reason, if that piston does not want to spin in, that means that it's seized internally and you need to replace the entire caliper itself. In our case, it is moving in nice and easy. It's doing what it's supposed to. Now we went ahead and showed you how you could use pliers for something like this, for this here, but it's not always the best way to do it. That's last case resort. Ideally, you want to use the proper tool to do something like this here. This tool allows you to get onto that piston, and it uses a backer here up against the caliper. And go ahead and spin this in. And you can see that this is compressing in much further. And it should go in pretty far. Now that will bottom out. I'm going to go ahead and back this up. I'm going to have to use a wrench on this here. Now we do have to pay attention to our notch here. I'm gonna go ahead and grab my pliers, and we're just gonna go ahead and rotate that back just to line that up. Remember, 12 and 6. I want to make sure everything is clean. Go ahead and take your brake pads and go ahead and line those up, popping those into place. Now go ahead and pop that in. I'm going to go ahead and do the same on the inboard pad. Now that we have our pads in place, we go ahead and grab our caliper. We're going to slide this over. Now when you go to put this on, you want to go ahead and push in on the slide pins and slide this down into place. Go ahead and grab your bolts. Line up the upper, get that one started. Once you get that one started, I'm going to go ahead and grab the other bolt, and we'll do the same for the bottom. Let's go ahead and snug these down gently. All right, let's go ahead and torque down the caliper bolts as well as the bracket bolts. Torque down our caliper bolts to 24 foot-pounds. So then torque down our bolts here to 76 foot-pounds. Let's go ahead and repeat for the top. Now at this point here, we're all assembled on this side here. You want to repeat this process for the driver's side. Before you drive off anywhere, make sure you hop into the vehicle. Pump up the brakes. That piston needs to come out and lock into that brake pad. And you want to go ahead and make sure those pistons are completely compressed. Make sure you get a good bite here on the brakes. At that point there, you're all set. Grab your wheel, line it up onto the studs. Get those lug nuts started. And once we have them all started, we'll go ahead and snug them down. When tightening these down, it's best if you tighten them down in a crisscross pattern or a star pattern. Now you can go ahead and torque down our lug nuts to 100 foot-pounds. Now preferably, you want to go ahead and do these in a crisscross pattern. And you're all set.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.